Good morning, my friends. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Behind the Mic with me, Mike Avery, here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. I am here to record this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, and I will tell you who's coming up on the show here in just a little bit. But first, let me just welcome you and thank you for joining me once again. I do Behind the Mic every Wednesday morning at 8:45 here from the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. And every night, every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, I do a Wednesday night live, and I will be back here again tonight. Cliff, good morning. How are you? Hey, Tim, how you doing? Say hi to Jen for me. I hope things are doing well in your beautiful piece of heaven. Good morning, Ed. How are you? Hey, Craig, your post about those skinny water gray fish got some response. Very cool. Hey, Jim, thank you for that email. It's weighing heavily on me. And I agree with your last comment. I'm not going to read it here on the air, but your last statement of that email where you talk about a direction, I could not agree with you more. I feel like, and I don't want to get too far off base here, but obviously things are going the wrong direction. And I just wonder how long good people are going to be able to sit back and let things go this direction without doing something about it. Randy, good morning. Appreciate you being along with us, as well as you, Jim. Robert, always a pleasure. Bruce, good morning. How are you? Jerry, thanks for joining us. Jen says hi. Tim says right now there's bear on his bait as we speak. He can't wait. Lucky you, you got a bear tag. Mike, good morning. Bruce, Patrick checking in from the GM truck plant, the Flint Truck Assembly. Jason checking in from the Ford Dearborn Truck Plant. Johnny, Uncle Johnny, how you doing, buddy? Another John, good morning. How are you? See what I have here in the studio this morning? Michigan brand. This is salty Colorado style smoked beef made in Michigan. I'm showing you this because tonight at 7 o'clock on Wednesday Night Live, I will be at the Michigan brand plant in Bay City. Jonathan, you got to have one of these. I'm telling you, these are just outstanding. There you go. Take a big one. Good man. That's really good. Jonathan says he's actually what he says very good, meaning that's really good. It is good. Tommy, good morning. How are you, buddy? Appreciate you joining us on this edition of Behind the Mic here from the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. John, did you get the email no podcast today? All right. Because I recorded it last night at my studio at the house. That actually works out pretty good. I might start doing more and more of those. Coffee. Mitchell, good morning. Mitchell, I don't recognize your name. Thanks for joining us. Mike Sills, I do recognize your name, the Michigan Outdoorsman. Oh, Jen says, good morning, sir. I walked in the room right when you said say hi to Jen. Made my day. Well, anytime I can make your day, I am all for it. So, what is going on right now? It's a beautiful morning out there outside the studio right now. It was a beautiful drive in. Although, as I look at the weather forecast, tomorrow looks really crappy. And that's crappy because we're supposed to do a river cruise with some good friends of ours tomorrow. I don't think it's going to happen. They're calling for thunderstorms, 100% chance of rain, 20 to 30 mile an hour winds. Not good conditions to take a river cruise on. And at this point, if we postpone it, it's going to have to be postponed till after the wedding, my daughter's wedding, which is coming up here in just a couple of weeks. Randy says he just started to watch. Well, Randy, I appreciate you joining us. Thanks for being along with us. I would also encourage you to join us Wednesday nights at 7 for Wednesday Night Live. And tonight, again, I will be live at the Michigan brand plant. We're going to go behind the scenes as they make their products, including the Mike Avery Hunter Sticks. Mike Avery Hunter Sticks are good, but man, these things are good too. Robert, good morning. The Angler Quest can take it. I can take it, but my guests are not as hardy or not as accepting of the elements as maybe you and I are. Michael says, get a parka if you need it. I know. And the Angler Quest has that big, beautiful bimini. We could get out of the conditions, but If it was a fishing trip, one thing, but a river cruise, yeah, you want Mother Nature to cooperate for that for sure. Speaking of fishing, I have not been on the Angler Quest in about a week and a half, and I miss her. I wonder if she misses me. Uncle Johnny Craves says he was out doing a crop survey the other night, sent me a picture of the boat and said she misses you. Hey, Scott, I've been thinking about you. I haven't checked in with you, but how you doing? How you healing up? Scott says, I know where there's an enclosed Angler Quest you could use. Dave Freebie says, hump day. Dave, we also need to get Dave's family out on a river cruise too, but that's probably not going to happen right away because things are kind of busy in Dave's world right now. Speaking of Dave's world, Dave, a couple of things I need to talk with you about as you prepare to take over the chairmanship. Just some background information I think you need to know. So yeah, I think the Angler Quest misses me. I sure miss her. Now, normally this time of year, I would be up in White River, Ontario on a bear hunt. Not this year. I went up there in the spring again because there's kind of a big event coming up in my world here in just a couple of weeks. My daughter's getting married, and I knew it would not be good on the home front if I took off for a week bear hunting 2 weeks before the wedding. So I went up in the spring. Chad says this northeast wind needs to stop. My boat has been dry for too long. The only good thing about the northeast winds, Chad, is it pushes that cold water in and it keeps the fishy and skinny for me. Ladies and gentlemen, the newly retired Jeff Hammond. How is it treating you, Jeff? Congrats. And what are you doing with your time? Jerry, good morning. How are you? Appreciate you joining us on this edition of Behind the Mic with me, Mike Avery. Mike Avery, Behind the Mic. Good morning, Dan. It's actually behind the mics, right? Social media mic, broadcast mic. Tim says that picture of the bear looking into the blind was great. That was sent to me by my buddy Ross Elliott, who is up in White River hunting right now. I haven't heard the story from Ross. That was the back door of the Wraith 270. I can't figure out, and I haven't had a chance to talk to Ross because he's been busy because they went 7 for 10 on the opening night of bear season. I can't figure out how he had the back door of the Wraith open and a bear wandered up to say hi. I haven't figured that out yet, but it's a very cool picture. Right after the wedding, it's going to be very quiet. You'll have lots of time. I think you're right, Kevin. Hey, good morning, Ken. Mad Jack, good morning. Jeff says, as a way of easing into retirement, next week he's going gator hunting and lobster diving. If that's what retirement is, that's what I want to do. But I'm not going to retire until Art Lewis retires, which makes us both laugh. Art, come in here, Art. Does it look like we are ready to retire yet? I mean, we look of retirement age, but we're not ready to retire yet.
I've looked the word up. I can't find it in the dictionary.
It just, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that one, Art. I'm with you.
Unless we could just fish.
You liked that, didn't you?
I did. It was enjoyable.
See why I like it? See why I'm hooked
Oh,
on it?
listen, I understand.
Season's winding down now, though, Art.
I mean, look what you've done to me now. I own pistols. I
He's-
own fish.
I'm converting him. This former, well, I'm not going to, I can't say liberal. I can say New Yorker. I can't say liberal.
Yeah.
This guy is now, he's a shooting enthusiast and he's been exposed to fishing and he loves that too. So look out, ladies and gentlemen. We created a monster here. Hey, good morning, Brent. Brent says, say hello to Art. Hello, he says. Jim says beans the night before. That's why the door was open. Good morning, Beverly. How are you? Hey, Brent, it was nice. Not nice. It was wonderful. I've been thinking about you guys a lot. And since I hadn't seen Tracy in a long time, really, it was really nice to see you guys. It was nice to give her a big hug. What a wonderful night for a ball game, wasn't it? That was just a great night. Ed's taking advantage of the cool weather to put in some food plots or to do some field work in our food plots. Dave, good morning. How have you been? Dave says, good morning, Art. Elmer says, awesome duo of old men there. Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand. Okay. I told you earlier, I have Michigan Brand products in the studio right now. These happen to be the salty Colorado style smoked beef. Oh, Art, come back in here. These are stupid good. Stupid good. I brought these in here in honor of our Wednesday night live tonight. And if Art comes back in here tonight, he's got to try one of these. Nick, these are outstanding. We'll be live at the Michigan brand plant in Bay City. We're going to go behind the scenes 7:00 tonight. We're going to see how they make some of these wonderful products I hear, including those Mike Avery Hunter sticks. Rachel, good morning. How are you? Michael, Captain Mark Pananzik, how you doing, buddy? Angie, how are things at Pizza Sam's? Mark, where are you fishing now? Do you go to the West Side and fish kings, or do you stay over here and fish the goldfish? Very good game with nice weather. Loons lost, but it was a good game. Well, it really wasn't. It was a fun game to watch. So yes, my boat does miss me. Normally I'm bear hunting right now. Not this year. John checking in from Hoosier Johnny checking in. Amy, good morning. Tim, good morning. How are you? Hey, I got a question for you. I need some help. I need some help for this week's radio show. In every Outdoor Magazine radio show, I do a segment called Ask Avery. And it's an opportunity for you to get involved in the content of the show. You can ask me a question. You can pose a question you want me to pass along to somebody else. I do not have an Ask Avery question lined up for this week's show yet. But can you help me out? Give me a question right now that I can use for the Ask Avery segment. But please make this one that I can answer directly, not one that I have to pass along to somebody else, because I don't have time to do that. I just got busy this week, didn't come up with an Ask Avery question. So what is the Ask Avery question you have that I can use in the radio show this week, and I will give you credit for it? All those wolves showing up in UP trail cams. Jason Karstens will be joining me on the show this week. I'll talk more about that in a minute. Did go to the West Side, but came back due to health issues, doing fine. Sorry to hear that, Cap. Okay. What is your ask? Give me an Ask Avery question. How to age bucks while hunting. I'm not the guy to ask, because I got to be honest with you, I really don't care. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm not trying to be flip. I'm not the guy to ask about that, because I just am not that into deer hunting. If I have no desire to shoot a 1.5-year-old buck, not that there's anything wrong with that. I just personally am not interested in that. It would have to be at least a 2.5-year-old buck, preferably a 3.5-year-old buck. But how do I know? I don't know. I don't know. So Tommy, I'm not the guy to ask on that one. I appreciate you posing that question. You know, I might be able to, you know what, Tommy? I think I might use that question and expand on that. So Tommy says, what's the preferred combination of bait to use for Michigan bears? Another good one. Tommy says, how to age bucks? That's a good question. Jason says, what's the bait combination? Jeremy says, what's one goal you have for next year's Saginaw Bay walleye season? Fish as much as I can. Does the DNR still print out a HAP map or book? A HAP? I don't know. Hope I'm live for deer season returns. Love that deer season, only 6 weeks away. Good morning, Kevin. How do you control scent? Oh, here's a good one. Craig says, how do you control scent around a bear bait? Robert says, when are you retiring? Lake Erie, Saginaw. Yeah, I like that. Good morning, Johnny. How are you? Okay, Craig is asking a question. Johnny Bowler's right here. Craig says, how do you control scent around a bear bait? Honestly, Craig, I don't worry about it to some degree. Okay, Craig says, scent at bear bait. That's a good question. I worry about controlling my scent somewhat, but you got to realize bear baits have a lot of scent. When the guides come in and bait those, they're wearing tennis shoes or leather boots. They're not wearing rubber boots. They walk in there smoking cigarettes. Not everybody, but I'm just using it as an example. Bears are used to scent. Bears know that's not natural. Bears know there's not something right. How do I control my scent? I do spray down, and I do put one of those little ozone machines in the blind with me. Good question, though. Good question. Favorite tree to fall asleep in under deer hunting? I got to be a white pine. Earth scent in your thermosol. That's another good one. Yes, I do those too. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Tommy. Appreciate that. Johnny says you don't. You don't what? Question, coated seeds for food plots. John, being that bear season's coming up, for those with permits, I could go with one of the good bear questions and use the deer question later on. Good point. There's Dave. Yeah, Dave, I saw your text. I couldn't answer it. Dave Sapansky, who is up in White River hunting with Ron St. Louis of Northern Wilderness Bear Outfitters right now, the same guy I was hunting with this spring. A great guy. He said, good morning, Mike. Lots of bears in at over 300 pounds. Nothing for you yet. Wow. And here's the man himself, Ross Elliott, who is also up in White River. He's guiding hunters. He went 7 for 10 on the opening night of the season. 2 of them I saw were 250 pounds-ish. Elmer, how much do you go through bringing bears you have killed in Canada back across the border? Nothing. It's a $35 or a $50 transport tag, and it's nothing. They don't even check your bears. You hand them the tag, you hand them the piece of paperwork, you fill out another piece of paperwork, and you come in. Johnny says he doesn't control scent because they get to know his scent, and they know he's bringing them food. Speaking of food, Charlie.
Yes, sir. Oh.
Nick is watching, so you have to eat one.
Oh, thank you. I will.
In my opinion, will there ever be baiting for whitetail in the lower again? Paul, in my opinion, no. And I base that on conversations I've had with people in the DNR. No. You know what I'm going to do, my friends? I should just come back to these questions when I'm on the air. Paul Fournier says, baiting in the lower peninsula. Man, you guys are coming up with lots of good questions. It is tough. It's a little harder, Elmer, to bring it. You know what? When I shot my wolf, I don't even think they checked my wolf, just my paperwork. Mike Van Warmer says, will the muzzleloader season in the lower ever be a true muzzleloader season again? I think you know the answer to that, don't you, Mike? In my opinion, no. Joe says, good morning, Mike. Would you please tell me the knives you advertise? Rapid River. This is my knife. There are others like it. Actually, there aren't. This is my knife, and there is no other like it, but this is mine. And Chris Durson of Rapid River, it's rapidriverknifeworks.us, rapidriverknifeworks.us. Check out their showroom on US 2, just east of Rapid River. It is wonderful. I let this knife get too dull, and now I have to work it over. Another question, will we have a wolf season in Michigan? Yes. Eventually. Another question, will we have a moose season in Michigan? No. Even though back in the mid 80s, when we had Moose Lift 1 and Moose Lift 2, when we went to Algonquin Provincial Park in Ontario to capture moose and bring them back to the Pashiki grade west of Marquette in the UP, and we you guys are wolf and moose hunt. We traded the Canucks, and I use that term affectionately. I have a lot of friends in Ontario. We traded them turkeys for moose. I think we came out okay on that one. They told us that 15 years later, by the year 2000, which is now 23 years ago, they told us in the mid 80s we would have 2,000 moose in the UP by the year 2000. And they said, you can expect a limited moose hunt. We didn't reach those numbers, and we will never see a moose hunt, in my opinion. Craig says the bear hunt I did, the guys uses anise and water to scent the bait when he took it over. I sprayed the site after baiting. And here was my follow-up point on that, Craig. Thank you for that. Everybody, not you, Craig, but everybody's an expert on baiting bear. Here's something to keep in mind. If you're not the person who set up the bait and you're not the person who's maintaining the bait, you're just walking into a bait that somebody else has set up and somebody else has been baiting for weeks. Why would you go in there and change it? If the guide has been using donuts, if the guy's been using hamburger, if the guy's been using filet mignon, if the guy's been using beaver, I don't care. But why would you as a hunter come in there and then spray something or put something on the bait that wasn't there in the previous 2 weeks? People always say that to me. Oh, you should be using this. No. Use whatever the guide has been using for weeks to get the bear to come in there. Don't change the system when you walk in there and expect to have good results. Patrick says, and yet they allow baiting for the early and vet hunts, pretty much defeated the reason for not baiting. Patrick, I cannot disagree with that at all. Amy says, drive, don't run. Hope you're good, Johnny. Good morning, Mike. How are things over on Lake Michigan? Hope your fishing is going well. Ricky, good morning. How are you? Some good questions, my friends. I really appreciate that. You've helped me out a lot. Oh, who's on the radio show this week, Avery? Jason Karstens of True North Guide Service, TrueNorthGuideService.com, is going to talk to me about fishing the St. Mary's River, fishing for Atlantics. No, it's not True North Guides. Jason, help me out. Is it True North Guide Service? Jason, help me out here. True North. Jason, shoot me. Well, on Facebook, True North Guide Service on Facebook. Charlie, did you get my email about no podcast?
Yes, sir.
And the Angler Quest spot changing?
It's all taken care of.
Perfect. Jason, is it Facebook or is it TrueNorthGuideService.com? Mike says 35 wins. It's a time for a campfire and a beer or two. Well, he says beverage, but I know he means beer. TrueNorthGuideService.com or just on Facebook? On Facebook. Got it.
30 seconds.
I was there, John. I saw them. I saw the change in direction. Very interesting. Ask Avery, describe your ideal last fishing trip. To spend it with you, Craig. To spend the day on the water with you. Don't forget tonight, my friends, Wednesday Night Live, 7 o'clock at the Michigan Brand plant in Bay City. Dang it, Charlie. I'm not done talking yet.
Talk some more.
Charlie Rude is a slave driver. Oh, you can't use that word anymore. He is a taskmaster. I wanted to keep talking with you, and Charlie says I got to go to work. So I will do that. So I'm going to switch from this microphone to this microphone. And Facebook. Gotcha. I won't be able to directly interact with you, but thank you for your questions for the Ask Avery segment. I will use several of them, I think. But I will be back here tonight at 7 o'clock, not here in the studio, but live streaming at 7 o'clock tonight from the Michigan Brand plant in Bay City. We'll get a behind the scenes look at how they make those great products. Have a good day, my friends. Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. How are you doing? How you doing? How was your week since we last talked? Have you had a chance to do anything fun to enjoy the weather? Boy, we've had a lot of rain in the past week in my neck of the woods. How about yours? Good for the food plots, though, right? Oh, it's an interesting time of year because we can feel summertime slipping away. Cooler nights, shorter days. You either find that very sad or you find it exciting. Maybe you're kind of excited to have the kids go back to school. Maybe get them out of your hair for a while. And I know you say that with love. Listen, as a parent and grandparent, I get that. I get that completely. I haven't been doing much, I got to be honest, as far as outdoor passions. I actually haven't been out on the angler quest in a week and a half now. I wonder if she misses me as much as I miss her. I'm jonesing. We were supposed to do a river cruise with some friends, but Mother Nature kind of, at least it looks like, is going to put the kibosh to that. But listen, we're used to dealing with Mother Nature. I don't care if it's fishing or hunting or cruising or whatever. We deal with what Mother Nature gives us. Normally, this time of year, I would be up in White River, Ontario, Canada on a bear hunt. I went up there in the springtime this year. I did that for family reasons. My daughter Shelby is getting married in just a couple of weeks. I didn't think it would be a good idea, and this is an understatement. I didn't think it would be prudent or smart to take a week off and go to the wilds of Ontario on a bear hunt 2 weeks before the wedding. So I went up there in the springtime. But I have been following their activities. I've been watching online as my friends are checking in from up there, and they're doing pretty well. Seems like a good bear crop this year. Also, excitement here in Michigan coming up for the Michigan bear season. I am not bear hunting this year. I only put in for a point. I do expect that next year I will be back hunting with the bear whisperer, Johnny Bowler, up in the Seney area. Looking forward to that. Deer season. Well, okay. Salmon fishing going on right now. A lot of people over primarily on the west side of the state chasing silverfish. I always get a kick out of this. You go west to fish silver. You go east to fish gold. Think about that. There's a lot of truth to it. The silverfish, the salmon, Lake Michigan, the goldfish, Lake Erie, Lake St. Clair, Saginaw Bay. It does make a lot of sense. So deer season prep too. A lot of people putting in food plots right now. Mother Nature has kind of cooperated for that, right? You want some rain to get those food plots off to a good start. The youth hunt is coming up not too far away, right? I will be out there with my grandson, Carter. My good friend, Scott, is graciously allowing us access to his beautiful piece of property. We've got a Wraith 270 see-through blind up on a platform over a food plot. I know Carter's excited for that. I am as well. It's time to put some more venison in the freezer. We had some venison chili the other night, and I was looking at that going, our venison burger's just about over. What we do have is a bunch of brats and hunter sticks from Michigan brand from my Ontario bear from last spring. By the way, last Wednesday night, we did a Wednesday night live at the Michigan brand plant in Bay City. If you want to get a behind the scenes look at how they make those products, check that out. That's on my Facebook page. That's on my YouTube channel as well. Just go to past videos, past live videos. You can check that out. Last year on the youth hunt, it was interesting because my grandson, Carter, did shoot a big, beautiful doe with a Brenton 350 Legend first thing in the morning. And as part of the experience, he had to be involved in, let's say, field processing that animal. You know, there's another term we use that is a little bit more graphic, but I'll say for broadcast terms, field processing. All right, gutting. He had to gut the animal. I cannot make myself buy into the whole politically correct concept. So I'll go with terms that we're all familiar with. And we used my Rapid River knife for that. And Scott said, man, you got a good edge on this thing, Avery. I mean, I at the time I had it razor sharp. Well, Chris Durson from Rapid River, when I asked him this, I say, what's the key to keeping a knife sharp? He says, keep it sharp. Don't let it get dull. Touch it up every once in a while. He likes I think the term is, it's not strapping. I think it's stropping. When you use a piece of leather, you can even use an old belt and just use the leather to break down the the little burrs that form on the edge of the knife, use that to break it down. And I haven't been doing a very good job of that, and I let my knife get dull. And I'm embarrassed. A dull knife it's still a tool, but it's not a very valuable tool. In some ways, that was the sound of my knife opening it, by the way. In some ways, I think a dull knife is more dangerous than a sharp knife. But what I need to do now is concentrate on putting an edge back on this thing. Now I could run back up to the Rapid River shop, their showroom, and they would touch it up and they would make it razor sharp again. In the meantime, though, I gotta put an edge on this thing. Sharpening a knife is a skill. It's an art. My dad could do it. My dad could put a knife on a whetstone and boom, done. I have never had that skill. I've never developed that skill. The closest I've come is using a sharpening system called a Lansky, and there are others out there like it. But what it does is it's got a series of stones, and they have rods that attach to the end of those stones, and there's a jig that lets you choose the angle of edge that you want to put on there. But more importantly, what it does is it allows you to keep a consistent angle, and that's the key. Whatever angle you choose is to keep a consistent angle on both sides of the knife so you don't roll the edge over. Some people can do that by hand. I cannot. The thing that I have been involved in, it's the closest I've come to hunting or fishing. I've been on vole patrol. Our yard a few weeks ago, we found was just infested with voles, not moles, voles. And these things are absolutely disgusting little big mouse-like critters that eat your lawn. And they create tunnels and they create they create runways. And so what I have done is I have established a trap line. I'm now a trapper. And I go out every morning and I check the trap line. And it's actually quite rewarding. I see why you folks who are true trappers enjoy it so much. There's a certain amount of satisfaction in setting a trap and catching a pesky critter in that thing. At last count, I was up to 25. Boy, Avery, you had a problem. Yeah, we did. We had a lot of them. So that's about all I've been doing in the outdoors. Wednesday night lives. I do them every Wednesday night at 7:00. As I say, last week we were live at the Michigan brand plant in Bay City. Check that out. That's on my social media outlets. Also my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Use that to send me your Ask Avery questions. Now, I came into the studio today without a formal Ask Avery question in mind. But what I did was, as I was doing a behind the mic live stream here in the studio before we started to record, I threw the concept out. I threw the question out. Give me your Ask Avery questions. Well, we came up with a good 3 or 4 of them, and I will be using those in the show coming up later here in the show. Now, after the break on this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, Jason Karstens of True North Guide Service will join me to talk about fishing the St. Mary's River for Atlantic salmon. I don't know if Jason has a bear tag this year or not. We'll talk about that and more. Then Paul Perrone of Versa Skins. Versa Skins will be at the big Woods and Water show the first weekend after Labor Day. They'll be at booth, I think, 30, but more details on that. In our second hour, a guy named Kyle Green. He's a young guy, but man, is he making a name for himself in the outdoor television industry. Their show has just been, well, they're going on the History Channel. History Channel is bigger than the Outdoor Channel, exponentially. We'll talk about that and more, and an event that they have coming up to celebrate that. Then Nick Green of MUCC. I've got to talk more about this terrible situation going on in Lansing right now, in Washington right now, with funding for hunter education, for trap shooting. It's terrible. We'll talk about that. And in our third hour, Paul Schlafly of Riverside Charters talking about fishing Lake Michigan salmon this time of year. And we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire, Dixie Dave Miner. So we've got a good rundown, good guest, good information, and I'm glad you're with us right here on Outdoor Magazine. Yeah, I forgot to talk about that. This whole the cutting in funding for any school that has hunter education classes, archery in the school classes, a high school trap team. If you are providing training for, in quotes, dangerous weapons, you will lose your federal funding. Now, how many public schools are going to take that chance? As I say, we're going in the wrong direction. All right, my friends, have a great day. I'll see you tonight, 7 o'clock, for another edition of Wednesday Night Live from the Michigan Brand Plant in Bay City.